So today I had the pleasure of sitting down with Jason Shanks, the president of the OSV Institute for Catholic Innovation, to talk about the OSV challenge that they have coming up. So just go ahead and give us a brief introduction of who you are and what the OSV challenge is.
Yeah, hello. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And I've been with OSV for about 4 years and running the Institute. So OSV is this 110-year-old organization. Was started in 1912 by Father Noel. And he was an innovator and pioneer at the time, really trying to address issues of his day, right? So at that time, there was a lot of anti-Catholicism. Immigration was still an issue, a variety of things. And he wanted to basically reach out and help catechize his parish. So he started with something called pastoral letters, and then that eventually morphed into a paper called Our Sunday Visitor. It would greet people on Sundays, would visit them. And at its peak, it got up to 1 million copies. He then started offertory envelopes, trade books, and a variety of other things. And we build on that legacy today. 3 years into starting that paper, he noticed this starting to generate revenue. And this holy priest felt that that revenue needed to be used for the good of the church. So the Institute was started to basically give back to projects, apostolates, dioceses, parishes around the country. In its earlier formations, he was given more money to the Diocese of Fort Wayne South Bend, where we're located, than the people of Fort Wayne South Bend. That's how much money was sort of being generated. So this was really a social enterprise in many ways. So today you might think of, Starbucks or Whole Foods or something that has a for-profit mission, but really wants to save the planet or the world. He has started a nonprofit that really is sort of run like a social enterprise and gives money away. So when I was brought in to sort of revitalize the Institute. It had been doing a lot of great work in its history of 100 years. It's given away about $85 to $87 million in that time span. And but it was doing it in a way that was not very proactive, very reactive, not as sort of professionalized in a certain sense related to its technology and stuff. So we really wanted to start focusing on what are the larger needs of the church. Thinking about Father Noel at the time, he addressed needs and came up with solutions. What are those needs? And probably the largest need that we found over a 3-year period was what we felt was sort of a lack of imagination, creativity, and innovation with a lot of the applications we were seeing from a grant standpoint. And so thus we pivoted. That's sort of become a buzzword now with COVID. Everybody's pivoting. But we pivoted to start the Institute to be for Catholic Innovation. And with that, we started the Innovation Challenge, which is very similar to what people may be familiar with in the secular space. And so we're giving 3 prizes away of $100,000 each. And last year we had 350 people apply. This year we doubled that. So we're up to over 600. And what that challenge looks like is we want the biggest and best ideas to sort of move the gospel forward. So John Paul II talked about the new evangelization, right? New in ardor, new in spirit, and new in method. And what we're really focusing on is that new in method. Now, my colleagues in our publishing division and stuff, of course, are always looking at messaging and how we can share the gospel. But we're really looking for what are those new ideas that is going to advance the gospel. And we really feel like, if you think about the Catholic Church and its history, built the university systems. It built musical notation. Heck, I think it gave us coffee. And we feel like a lot of the leadership books and things that people are reading today are coming from the secular world, are coming from even our evangelical brothers and sisters. But it's a part of our DNA as Catholics to think innovatively for the kingdom. So innovation for us is not innovating doctrine. It's not trying to be clever there. Of course, it's not innovating even liturgical expression. It's really trying to innovate in our methods. And we're trying to really step in a place of thought leadership and inspiration and really galvanize the Catholic community to move forward in a new, innovative way.
I like that conversation on leading and moving forward like that, on innovation, right? I think a lot of people, Catholics included, think of the Catholic Church as stodgy, as antiquated, and they don't recognize the history and the legacy that we stand on. And speaking of, like, I mean, you said for OSV too, you guys started in 1912. You've been working for over 100 years. In what ways has OSV had to move with the times? I mean, since you guys started, there's been new mediums to rise up. There's others that are, fallen by the wayside. Like, how has stepping forward and innovating and looking at new ideas and helped y'all not just survive but thrive?
Yeah. So OSV, I think that is a part of the culture of OSV. It's 350 person organization that's all over the country. It's a large organization, but it thinks like a startup, and I think that's really neat and powerful, and it's part of its DNA. So it's had these sort of different pivots and transition periods. As an example, I would say right now we're a tech company, right? We started printing papers, and we still do, but we're creating church management systems. We are in the offertory envelope business. We're the largest producer of offertory envelopes business in the world. But we pivoted to now have online giving, right? I was just talking to my boss the other day about what does it look like, and could we think about putting Bitcoin in an online giving platform? So what happens if that becomes the way people pay? So we're constantly innovating. We're talking about right now, what would artificial intelligence look like for a parish to use it? Not only for its wealth analysis of donors, but for the means of evangelization. What would it look like if we were able to predict better for the pastor, homilies he should give, books he should put out, pamphlets he should emphasize, because it's able to predict a little bit about where his people are. So I think that, there's a company that's in a shrinking market in many ways in some of the print industry, but has pivoted very well in sort of the digital landscape. We've come to recognize, as an example, about how do we take content and remove it from its containers and use it in multiple mediums. And that's OSV is doing that. And again, it all goes sort of back to the founder, right? I met with Bishop Barron. And I said, Bishop, I think you're like the Archbishop Noel of today, who started OSV. If Archbishop Noel would have had YouTube, if he would have had the podcasting, he would have been using it. He was using the medium of his day to solve the problems of his day, and we need to do likewise. But I think to your other point, I think we've sort of forgotten or lost our innovative spirit as Catholics and what this looks like. I think, frankly, for the last 3 to 4 years, the Catholic Church has sort of been licking its wounds a bit. And I think it's time to refocus on going out, refocus on evangelizing. And I think we really grow in holiness, grow in faith by giving it away. And we need to think of what is the new creative means and methods that we need to do that by. And so I'm encouraging people, and you can be a college student and have great ideas. I mean, Facebook started in college, right? So there's ideas that even the students on University of St. Thomas campus could have, and a whole slew of ideas and diversity of ideas and new people we need to reach. And I would encourage you to start dreaming and thinking about it. And OSV wants to walk beside you on that journey.
And I know that it's more for y'all. It's more than just finding the new ideas. It's when you find the people that have ideas, of giving them the coaching, giving them the resources, giving them the foundation for them to be able to actualize and realize those dreams. And one of the ways you do that is through the accelerator.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and what that looks like?
Yeah. Let me start by saying you're so right that it's more than the ideas. When we started this challenge last year, at first we started thinking about, we want the ideas. And what we realized, actually, it wasn't about the idea. It was about the person. And it's about finding in the entrepreneur. You can have the best ideas, but if the person can't execute on it and can't see it through, not going to go anywhere. So early on, it became about the person and not just the idea. So we, as a part of this program, they go through different rounds. So if you're selected, you go to round 2. There you create a business model canvas, you create a video, you do a variety of things. Once you get to a semifinal round, which this year is going to be 24 of that 600, we put you in an accelerator. And the accelerator has 2 parts. It has spiritual formation. We want to help these entrepreneurs spiritually be grounded in a world that's going to attack you from the culture, from spiritual attacks and a variety of things. So we want to be spiritually formed, but also formed and accelerate your idea, form you as an entrepreneur, form you as an innovator. So I'm happy to say that this year, coming up, this accelerator, we're starting a new partnership, if you will, with the University of St. Thomas to help accelerate those 24 and to be a part of this new OSV Innovative Challenge. And we couldn't be more thrilled by it. We've really been impressed by the work of the university in terms of its entrepreneur, innovative spirit, what's going on around it in Houston. And frankly, we really feel like the epicenter of the church is here. And so we're so excited to work with the team here at the University of St. Thomas, and more to come on what that looks like in the curriculum. But I think it's going to be a really, really great partnership.
And how did that partnership come to be? I know that you've worked with other universities in the past, but how did St. Thomas pop up on y'all's radar? And what was the yes point for y'all?
So that's a great question. One of the groups that came to our demo day last year. So your listeners, if they're students, might be used to hearing like tribe language. We're trying to create 3 tribes: an innovator tribe, a mentor tribe, and what we're calling our investor tribe. So we invite to this demo day when these 12 finalists present, which this September will be in Houston, and students would be more than willing, or alumni, to come see 12 innovative presentations, pitches. So it's sort of like a Catholic Shark Tank with judges and the like. We're having that here in Houston, which we're really excited about. But last year at Demo Day, we invited other investors. So beyond just having our prize money, we want to have other foundations, donors, philanthropists be able to invest in these ideas. We've done all the work. We've helped accelerate them. So last year we had a foundation here in Houston, the Scanlon Foundation, participate in Demo Day. They were so excited about it that they invited us to come down and visit with them. We did. And a part of that visit, they introduced us to the president, Richard, here at the University of St. Thomas. And we came and toured and visited. We learned about the Mac Studios. We learned about the innovation that's happening here. We learned a little bit about the area and sort of the innovation of Houston. And we really were just sort of fell in love with the mission of the University of St. Thomas. We also really liked the diversity. We liked the diversity of the campus, the diversity of the area. And again, thought as it comes to church, we really think that as we're focused on innovation, this looks more like we believe the church of the future. So for all these factors, we started a dialogue and a conversation with the University of St. Thomas, and they've been fantastic, very receptive. And we've already had conversations on what the curriculum would look like for the accelerator. We've had conversations of, ways we can work further together on this. And I frankly think, just as a side note, sometimes the church is too siloed, right? Sometimes the church has trouble, even though we're one church, collaborating together, working together. And I think that's another thing that's really important to us. If we're going to innovate, we need to do it together. We can't have egos. We can't be prideful. And I would say all those characteristics really embody, I think, this partnership with the University of St. Thomas. I have great hopes for not only what it's going to be this coming year, but for a long-term future.
Yeah, awesome. I'm really excited about that, because I do think that And I've been saying this for years because I went to school here and I moved to Houston for a specific reason. But I do think that Houston is a microcosm of what the United States will be. And everything's happening here first, and then we'll see it happening. So if we can figure out how to address some of the concerns, some of the issues, some of the struggles, some of the tensions.
Exactly.
Now here we can help other places in the near future go through the same things, but do it more gracefully.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think when I think of innovation and new methods, I see them coming from Houston and Texas at large. So we're excited. I'm excited to be here and thrilled about, University of St. Thomas sort of joining with us on this endeavor.
Nice. Yeah. And so the last question I have for you, and it's perhaps the most important question, is what does a good idea look like? What does somebody who's listening to this, who wants to join the 2022 competition, what do they need to consider? What do they need to think about? And how do they need to practice and start building their case?
Yeah, that's a great question. And by the way, last year, we had people who started with napkin ideas. Right? Something they just sketched out on a little napkin and thought, oh, there's no way this is going to make it. And it did and made it all the way to the finals. So these aren't just like people who have it all together, have it all thought out. When you start on this journey, sometimes it starts with an idea. It starts with a desire. It starts with hope. I would first counsel someone and say that I think you should marry the problem and date the solution. And what I mean by that is you got to really know what the problem is you're trying to address. So in design thinking in particular, there's something called empathetic listening. And I would really counsel people to really listen and know what's the problem you're trying to solve. Secondly, I would suggest that you do a little market scan. Is anybody else out there addressing their problem? Is anybody doing what you're hoping to do? Do you have something unique? And what's your unique value proposition, if you will? So too often what happens in these challenges is they submit something and we know 10 other people already doing that. And I always thought, man, a little Google scan would have helped you. Not that you couldn't still submit your idea, but maybe you're going to want to do it differently. Or maybe you want to partner with someone. I would thirdly say you need to have a spirit of humility, right? This isn't about you. And I would suggest to that person that they need to be prayerful. They need to be thinking about how's the Holy Spirit going to work and guide them on this journey. We really look for people that are humble and coachable, and people that are hungry, right? You have a napkin idea and you're going to work your tail off and you're going to work hard with that. So your last question is, what makes a good idea, right? That is what we're trying to find, right? It's like you sort of know it when you see it. And I think a lot of times good ideas aren't always the new idea. Sometimes it may be an old idea that needs to be resurrected. So I don't think we should fall into a trap when we think about innovation to always think of the next new thing. Sometimes it could be, an old thing within the church that needs to be resurrected and made anew again. So I think that's critically important. I do think, though, too often some of the things we see are more of the same. And I would ask the person, is that really working? I think as church, we do a whole lot of stuff, but no one can really tell me if it's working. And a lot of the data we're seeing would suggest it's not working. The numbers of unaffiliated is rising. With COVID, it's even further rising. I think right now, our churches are pretty bare from COVID. So the idea that we're just going to do more of the same, or as I hear a lot from parishes, return to normal. We don't need to return to normal. Return to normal was us doing more of the same things with more people leaving. So my point is we need to think a little bit out of the box, right? We need to dream a little differently. And then lastly, if I can, and you can challenge me if I haven't fully answered your question. Lastly, I would say is I think we have a misconception that we are all waiting for Moses to come down off the mountaintop and give us the commandments. We think of innovator as the Steve Jobs or the Elon Musk. And certainly they've got talent. But I want to suggest to everybody that there's an innovator within all of us. There's a creative within all of us. At one time when we were children, we all loved to color. We all liked to build with blocks. And somehow we lost that in a certain sense as we grew up. But there's an innovator within all of us. The Holy Spirit is active and working in this church. And we need to be thinking about, how do we innovate for the gospel to reach our neighbor, to reach our parents, to reach our friends, to reach our coworkers. And so my point is while I think there are people that are probably particularly talented in an entrepreneurial way, I think there's an entrepreneur in everybody. And sometimes it just starts with getting your pen and napkin idea and start sketching some things on paper.
Well, that's really encouraging to hear. So all the students out there, if you're unsure, just go for it.
Just go for it.
There's nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Nothing to lose, everything to gain. And I think, frankly, you grow from it.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Well, Jason, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with us and sharing the OSV Challenge and what you are doing at the Institute. Where can people find out more about some of the past finalists and about the challenge and the Institute in general?
Yeah, so I would encourage everybody to go to osvinstitute.com. There you can have a link to the OSV Challenge. Also, we started something called OSV Talks, which students might be interested in. They're TED Talks for Catholics, right? So they're 18-minute long talks to encourage innovation and thought leadership. So you can find all of that on osvinstitute.com. Or if you simply want to go to osvchallenge.com or osvtalks.com, they can get you there directly to those things as well.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jason.
Thank you. Appreciate it. This was great.